The conference room buzzed with the usual pre-meeting chatter. Executives shuffled papers, checked phones, and exchanged pleasantries. At the head of the table sat Marcus Chen, the newly appointed CEO of a struggling tech company that had seen better days. He looked around at the faces before him, seasoned veterans who had weathered countless storms, young innovators hungry to prove themselves, and middle managers caught somewhere in between. They were here for the quarterly review, expecting the usual PowerPoint presentation filled with graphs, projections, and corporate speak. But Marcus had something different in mind. "Before we begin," he said, closing his laptop, "I want to ask you all a question." The room fell silent. People looked up from their devices, curiosity replacing their distracted expressions. "Why are you here?" The question hung in the air like morning fog. A few people shifted in their seats. Someone coughed. The VP of Marketing, Sarah, glanced at her colleagues, unsure if this was rhetorical or if Marcus actually expected an answer. "I mean it," Marcus continued, his voice calm but penetrating. "Not why are you in this meeting. Why are you here? Why did you choose this company? Why do you wake up every morning and come through those doors?" Jennifer, the head of product development, spoke first. "Well, it's a good job. Stable income, decent benefits." "Stop," Marcus interrupted gently. "I appreciate the honesty, but let me be honest with you. If that's your only reason, you're dying a slow death. So is this company." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. People exchanged nervous glances. This was not the corporate pep talk they'd expected. Marcus stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city skyline. 10 years ago, I was working at a hedge fund. 6-figure salary, corner office, my name on the door. I was 28 years old and thought I had it all figured out. He turned back to face the room. I was also miserable. Every morning, I'd sit in traffic for an hour, my chest tight, my jaw clenched, dreading the day ahead. I was good at my job, great even. I made my clients a lot of money, but I felt empty, hollow, like I was watching someone else live my life. People were leaning forward now, the financial reports forgotten. One evening, I was working late again, and the cleaning lady came in. Her name was Rosa, and she must have been in her 60s. Every night, she'd come by around 9 p.m., empty the trash, and leave with a smile and a "Good night, Mr. Chan." Marcus smiled at the memory. This particular night, I was staring at my computer screen, probably looking as dead inside as I felt. Rosa paused at my door and said something that would change my entire life. She asked me, "Mr. Chan, what are you building?" Marcus let that settle for a moment. I didn't understand the question at first. I told her I was working on a portfolio rebalancing strategy for our investors. She nodded politely, then asked again, "No, Mr. Chan, what are you building? Not for the company, not for the clients. What are you building that matters to you?" I had no answer. I literally couldn't think of a single thing. And Rosa, this woman who cleaned offices for a living, saw right through me. She said, "I clean 15 offices every night. I see a lot of young people like you, successful, wealthy, and completely lost. You know what the difference is between the ones who are happy and the ones who aren't?" The room was absolutely still. She said, "The happy ones are building something that matters to them. Not something that looks good on paper or impresses their friends. Something that makes them feel alive. Something that, when they're old like me, they can look back on and say, 'I'm proud of that. That was mine.'" Marcus returned to his seat but didn't sit down. He placed his hands on the back of his chair. "I quit my job 3 days later. My friends thought I was insane. My family was disappointed. I had no plan, no safety net, just this burning realization that I was wasting my life optimizing other people's money while my own soul was bankrupt." David, the CFO, raised his hand tentatively. "What did you do?" "I spent 6 months figuring out what mattered to me. I traveled. I volunteered. I read books I'd been meaning to read for years. I talked to people, really talked, not just networked. And slowly, I discovered something." Marcus's eyes lit up with genuine passion. "I realized I loved technology not for the money it could make, but for its power to solve real problems. Problems that kept people up at night. Problems that made life harder than it needed to be. I wanted to build things that made a genuine difference in people's daily lives. So I started small. I built an app that helped elderly people connect with their grandchildren. Something inspired by watching my grandmother struggle with video calls. It wasn't sophisticated. It didn't make me rich. But every time I got an email from a grandmother who could now see her grandson's first steps in real time, I felt more alive than I'd felt in years. Sarah leaned forward. Is that how you ended up in tech? Eventually, yes. But more importantly, that's how I rediscovered why I was in tech. Not to chase valuations or disrupt markets, those are just outcomes. I was in tech to build things that made people's lives measurably better. That's what got me out of bed every morning. He looked around the table, making eye contact with each person. Now, let me tell you why I took this job as your CEO. This company is struggling. I know it, you know it, and the market knows it. But when I researched what you've built over the years, I saw something remarkable. Marcus pulled up something on the screen, not a financial chart, but a series of photographs. This is Miguel Rodriguez. He's a teacher in rural New Mexico. He uses our software to create personalized learning plans for students with learning disabilities, students who were falling through the cracks in the traditional system. Another photo appeared. This is Dr. Aisha Patel. She's using our cloud infrastructure to run medical diagnostics in areas of India that don't have access to major hospitals. She's saving lives with technology that we built. More faces filled the screen. This is James Wong, who started a small business during the pandemic using our e-commerce platform. He now employs 23 people from his community. The room was transfixed. These people don't know our stock price. They don't care about our quarterly earnings. But their lives are better because of what we've built. And somewhere along the way, we forgot about them. We stopped building for Miguel and Dr. Patel and James. We started building for investors, for market share, for metrics that look good in a boardroom but mean nothing to the people we're supposed to serve. Marcus turned off the screen and faced his team directly. So I'm going to ask you again. Why are you here? This time, the silence was different. It wasn't uncomfortable, it was contemplative. Jennifer spoke up, her voice stronger than before. I got into product development because I watched my autistic brother struggle with interfaces that weren't designed for people like him. I wanted to build technology that was inclusive, that thought about the people who get left behind. Marcus nodded. When's the last time you advocated for an accessibility feature? Jennifer paused, then looked down. It's been a while. We've been so focused on feature parity with competitors that you forgot why you started. Marcus finished gently. I'm not judging you. I'm asking you to remember. David, the CFO, cleared his throat. I'm here because I believe great technology should be sustainable, both environmentally and financially. I used to work for a company that burned through money like it was nothing, then collapsed, taking people's jobs and livelihoods with it. I wanted to help build something that lasted, that was responsible. And are we being responsible? Marcus asked. We're profitable, David answered carefully. That's not what I asked. David was quiet for a moment. No, we're cutting corners in ways that worry me, making decisions for short-term gains that could hurt us and our users long-term. One by one, people began to speak. Not the rehearsed, corporate-approved answers they usually gave in meetings, but real, honest reflections about why they'd chosen this career, this company, this path. Tom, a junior developer, admitted he'd been going through the motions for the past year, treating his work like just another task to complete rather than problems to solve for real people. Rachel, from customer support, shared that she'd stopped reading the feedback emails because they'd become depressing. So many frustrated users, so many unresolved issues, and she felt powerless to help them. As each person shared, something remarkable happened. The energy in the room began to shift. Shoulders straightened, eyes brightened. People were rediscovering the spark that had brought them here in the first place. Marcus finally sat down. Here's what we're going to do differently. Starting today, every project, every feature, every decision we make, we're going to ask ourselves one question. Who is this for? And how does it make their life better? He pulled out a stack of folders. I've prepared something for each of you. Inside, you'll find user stories, real stories from real people who use our products. Not aggregate data, not metrics, but actual humans with names and faces and problems they're trying to solve. I want you to read these. Know these people. When you're making a decision about your work, I want you to think about them. Sarah took her folder, flipping through the pages. Her eyes widened as she read. This woman, she said softly, she's using our project management tool to coordinate care for her mother who has Alzheimer's. She says it's the only thing keeping her sane. The only way she can manage all the doctors and medications and helpers. Exactly, Marcus said. That's who we work for. Not shareholders, though we'll take care of them by taking care of our users. Not the tech press, though they'll notice when we start building remarkable things again. We work for people like her. We're also changing how we measure success, Marcus continued. Yes, we'll track revenue and growth and all the usual metrics. But we're adding something else, impact stories. Every quarter, each department will share stories of how our work has made a tangible difference in someone's life. Those stories will carry as much weight in performance reviews as the numbers do. Robert, the head of engineering, raised a concern. That sounds great in theory, but how do we balance that with the competitive pressure we're under? Our rivals are moving fast, adding features. Let them, Marcus interrupted. We're not going to win by being the fastest. We're going to win by being the best at what we do. And what we do is solve real problems for real people. That requires us to slow down, to listen, to care deeply about the quality and thoughtfulness of our work. He leaned forward. Look, I know this is a different approach. I know some of you might be skeptical, but let me tell you what I've learned in my career. Companies that chase metrics end up hitting targets but missing the point. Companies that chase meaning end up building something that matters. And ironically, that's when the metrics take care of themselves. Over the next hour, the meeting transformed into something none of them had experienced before. People shared not just their why, but their frustrations, their hopes, their ideas for how they could do better. Jennifer proposed a complete accessibility audit of their products. Tom suggested creating a user advisory board, real customers who could give ongoing feedback. Rachel wanted to implement a system where support tickets weren't just closed, but followed through until the customer confirmed their problem was truly solved. Ideas flowed. Not the usual incremental improvements or me-too features copied from competitors, but genuine innovations rooted in real human needs. As the meeting wound down, Marcus stood once more. I want to be clear about something. This isn't going to be easy. We're going to have to make hard choices. We might have to say no to features that would be cool but don't serve a real need. We might have to take longer to ship something because we're doing it right. We might even take some heat from analysts who don't understand why we're not playing the usual game. He paused, his expression serious but determined. But I know that this is the only way forward. Because here's the truth. There are 100 companies that can build software. There are 100 companies chasing the same markets, implementing the same features, playing the same game. But there's only one company that can build what we build, the way we build it, for the reasons we build it. And that's us. If we remember why we're here. Sarah raised her hand. Marcus, can I ask you something personal? Of course. What happened to Rosa, the cleaning lady who asked you that question? Marcus smiled, a genuine warmth spreading across his face. I tried to find her after I quit my job to thank her. Took me 6 months, but I eventually tracked her down. She'd retired by then and moved to Texas to live with her daughter. I flew out to meet her. What did you tell her? I told her that she'd saved my life, that her question had given me permission to stop living someone else's version of success and start building my own. She laughed and said she asked everyone that question. Most people just didn't listen. The room chuckled. Before I left, I asked her why she did it, why she cared enough to ask a stranger such a profound question. You know what she said? They waited. She said, because I spent 40 years cleaning other people's offices and watching them build their dreams. The least I could do was remind them to make sure those dreams were actually theirs. Marcus walked back to his seat but remained standing. So that's what I'm doing for all of you today. I'm asking you to make sure the dreams you're building here are ones you actually care about. Because life is too short and too precious to spend it building things that don't matter to you. He looked around the room one final time. Tomorrow we start fresh. We start with purpose. We start with the people we serve at the center of everything we do. But today, right now, I just want you to sit with this question. Why am I here? And if you can't answer that, or if your answer is just, for the paycheck, then I want you to take some time to figure it out. Because we need people on this team who are here for a reason that goes deeper than money or status or putting another company name on a resume. We need people who are building something that matters to them, something they're proud of, something that 30 years from now they can look back on and say, I'm glad I spent my time on that. That was worth it. As people filed out of the conference room, something had shifted. Conversations continued in the hallway, not about the quarterly numbers, but about purpose and meaning and the work they actually wanted to be doing. Jennifer caught up with Marcus in his office later that afternoon. Can I share something? She asked. Always. When you ask that question, why am I here? I almost started crying, because I realized I'd stopped asking myself that question years ago. I just went through the motions, did good work, got promoted, moved up. But somewhere along the way, I forgot what the point was. Marcus nodded, understanding in his eyes. What changed? He asked. You gave me permission to care again, Jennifer said simply. To remember why I started. To believe that what I do here can actually matter. She paused at the door. Thank you for that. Word of the meeting spread quickly through the company. Within days, teams were spontaneously gathering to discuss their purpose, their impact, their why. The user stories Marcus had distributed became constant companions. Developers kept them on their desks, designers referenced them in meetings, support staff shared them with new hires. Something remarkable was happening. The company wasn't just changing its strategy, it was rediscovering its soul. 3 months later, they shipped their first product update under the new philosophy. It wasn't the flashiest release. It didn't have the most features, but it solved a specific painful problem for a specific group of users in a way that no one else had. The response was overwhelming, not from analysts or tech bloggers, but from the users themselves. The testimonials poured in, stories of problems solved, lives improved, frustrations eliminated. A year later, Marcus stood in the same conference room with the same team. The quarterly numbers were up significantly, but that wasn't why everyone was smiling. I want to show you something, Marcus said, pulling up an email on the screen. It was from Miguel Rodriguez, the teacher from New Mexico they'd seen in that first meeting. Dear team, it read, I don't know if this will ever reach the right people, but I wanted you to know, because of the tools you've built, I have a student who's reading at grade level for the first time in his life. His name is Daniel and he's 13 years old. He thought he was stupid, his word, but he just needed a different way to learn. Your software gave me the flexibility to create that for him. Yesterday, he finished his first chapter book. He's already started the next one. You didn't just give me a tool, you gave Daniel a future. Thank you. The room was silent, but it was the kind of silence that speaks volumes. That, Marcus said softly, is why we're here. Rosa passed away peacefully 2 years after Marcus's visit, surrounded by family. At her funeral, her daughter shared that Rosa had kept a journal where she wrote down all the people she'd talked to over the years. Strangers she'd asked that same question. What are you building? Marcus was listed there along with dozens of others. Next to his name, Rosa had written, He'll figure it out. She was right. And now, thanks to her question echoing through an entire company, hundreds more were figuring it out too. One question, one moment, one choice to remember why we're really here. That's all it takes to change everything. Remember, you're not here by accident. You're here to build something that matters to you and to the people you serve. Don't forget to ask yourself, what am I building? And make sure the answer is something you're proud of.